This is the story of 5 real-life horror stories that still remain unsolved. I am going to tell you these stories just the way they happened, and I want you to listen carefully, because even now, no one knows the truth behind them. They are strange, disturbing, and very real. The first story is about a boy named Brandon Swanson. One night in 2008, he was driving home in Minnesota. His car went into a ditch, so he called his parents and said he was walking toward a nearby town. They stayed on the phone with him for 47 minutes. Then suddenly, Brandon shouted, "Oh no!" And the call went silent. His phone stayed active for days, but no one could reach him. His car was found, but there was no sign of him. No body, no footprints, nothing. It's like he just disappeared into thin air. People still search for him, but he's never been found. The second story happened in 2014 on a plane, flight MS-370. A normal flight, full of people, left Malaysia and was headed to China, but about 40 minutes after takeoff, the plane vanished from the radar, just disappeared. No distress call, no signal. Later, small pieces of the plane were found in the ocean, but not the whole plane, and not the people. Over 200 passengers and crew vanished, and no one knows what really happened. Some think it was hijacked. Others say something went wrong midair, but no one knows for sure. Imagine sitting on a plane and then nothing. It's chilling. Now the third story is very strange. It's about a man named Peter Bergman. In 2009, he went to a hotel in Ireland under a fake name. For several days, he was seen walking around town, putting small items into trash bins, but no one knows what those items were. Then one morning, his body was found on the beach. He had no ID, no phone. Even the labels on his clothes were cut off. CCTV footage shows him carefully making sure he wasn't being followed. To this day, no one knows who he was or why he came to that town. He just vanished from history. The fourth story is older, but just as creepy. In 1959, a group of experienced hikers went to the Ural Mountains in Russia. The group was led by a man named Igor Dyatlov. They never came back. When rescuers found their camp, the tent had been cut open from the inside. Some of the hikers were barefoot in the snow, running away. Others had broken bones, cracked skulls, and even one had her tongue missing. There were no signs of struggle with others. Some say it was an avalanche. Others blame secret military experiments. But the way they died, it's terrifying. Nobody knows the full truth. They called it the Dyatlov Pass incident, and it's still a mystery. The last story is short but disturbing. In 2012, a woman named Elisa Lam was staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. She was last seen acting strange in the elevator, pressing many buttons, hiding in the corner, peeking outside like someone was chasing her. Then, she disappeared. Weeks later, hotel guests complained about the water pressure and a strange taste. That's when they found Elisa's body inside the rooftop water tank. No one knows how she got up there. The tank was hard to reach and had a heavy lid. The door to the roof was locked. Some say she was mentally ill. Others believe something or someone was with her. Her death was ruled accidental, but people who saw the elevator video are not convinced. There's something deeply wrong about it. So these are the 5 stories I wanted to tell you. Real people, real events. No clear answers, they leave behind only fear and questions. These stories are still open, still waiting to be solved. And the most chilling part? The next unsolved horror could be happening right now, without anyone knowing. Be careful. Sometimes the scariest things are the ones we never understand. This is the story of people who vanished without a trace. I am going to tell you these true scary disappearances, and I want you to listen closely, because the strangest part is not just that these people disappeared, it's that no one ever found out how or why. They were just gone, like they were taken by something we don't understand. Let me start with the story of Maura Murray. In 2004, she was a 21-year-old nursing student. One day she packed her car, left college, and told her teachers she had a family emergency. But there was no emergency. That evening, she crashed her car on a dark road in New Hampshire. A bus driver stopped and offered help. She said she was fine and didn't want the police. Minutes later, when the police arrived, Maura was gone. The car was locked. Her bags were inside. There were no footprints in the snow. Dogs lost her scent. Some say she ran away. Others say something or someone was waiting in the woods. But to this day, no one has found her. Not even a clue. Now listen to this one, it's creepy. A man named Brian Schaffer disappeared in 2006. He was a medical student in Ohio. One night, he went out with friends to a bar. Security cameras caught him walking in. He was seen talking to two women outside. Then he turned back to go inside. That was the last time anyone ever saw him. The camera never caught him leaving. The only exit was through a back door that was locked and led to a construction site. But no one found his body. Not in the bar. Not in the site. Not anywhere. It's like the bar swallowed him. His friends were shocked. His family searched for years. But Brian never came back. The third story is about a whole family. In 2010, the McStay family, 2 parents and their 2 little boys, disappeared from their home in California. The house was quiet. No signs of a fight. Their dogs were left behind with food. Their car was found near the Mexico border. For years, people thought they ran away. Maybe they wanted a new life. But then, in 2013, their remains were found in the desert. All 4 were murdered and buried. The police arrested a man who used to work with the father, but no one knows what really happened that day. Why did they leave their home? Who forced them? Or did they go on their own? No one can explain the missing pieces. Another strange story is about a little boy named Bobby Dunbar, from way back in 1912. He was just 4 years old when he disappeared while his family was on a fishing trip. The police searched everywhere. 8 months later, they found a boy with a man in a different state. The parents said, "Yes, that's Bobby," and took him home. But years later, the truth came out. The boy they raised was not Bobby Dunbar at all. DNA proved it. So what happened to the real Bobby? Who was the child they took in? And why did no one question it back then? It's one of the oldest unsolved cases in the country. Now here's the story that always gives me chills. It happened in Australia in 1975. A family was driving on a quiet road when a man waved them down, saying he needed help. They pulled over. But something wasn't right. The man had a gun. He forced them out of the car, tied them up. Then he took the 11-year-old daughter, Joanne, into the woods. Hours later, she came back alone. She had escaped. But the man was never found. Joanne and her brother went to the police and helped create a drawing of him. Years later, another girl came forward with a similar story. The same face, the same tricks. But again, the man disappeared into the wild. No name, no arrest, he could still be out there. So these are the stories I had to tell you. Real people, real families. They were living their lives just like us. And then gone. No goodbye, no reason, no body, just silence. The kind of silence that makes you wonder what's hiding in the shadows. The world is full of missing pieces. Some disappearances might have answers we haven't found. But others? They stay dark forever. So next time you're walking alone or driving down a quiet road, remember, some people vanish without a trace, and no one ever knows why. This is the story of disturbing true events that will haunt you forever. I am going to tell you things that really happened, not in movies, not in books, but in real life. And once you hear them, you might never forget, so listen carefully. These stories are dark, strange, and they don't always make sense. But they are true. The first one is about a man named Charles. He was a quiet guy, lived alone in a small apartment in a busy city. One day, his neighbors noticed a terrible smell coming from his place. They thought maybe it was trash or a dead animal, but after a few days, they called the police. When officers opened the door, they found Charles sitting on his couch, watching TV. He was calm. But what the police found in the bedroom made everyone sick. There was a body, wrapped in blankets, hidden under clothes. It was his roommate, who had been missing for weeks. Charles said he forgot to tell anyone. He lived in that apartment with a body the whole time. When asked why, he just said, "I didn't want to be alone." No one knows if it was murder or something worse. He never showed any fear or guilt. The second story happened in Japan. In 2008, a woman named Sato lived alone in a quiet neighborhood. She started noticing her food disappearing. Milk bottles were empty, rice was missing, and sometimes the TV was on when she got home. She thought maybe she was just forgetful, But then one night she saw her front door open on its own. That's when she installed a camera. What it captured was something no one expected. A stranger, an old woman, was living in her closet. She had been sneaking out while Sato was at work, eating food, using the bathroom, even sleeping in her bed. She lived there for almost a year without being seen. The police found her curled up in a small upper shelf in the closet. No one knows how she got in or why she stayed. But the thought of someone hiding in your home, watching you without you knowing, it's terrifying. Another story that still haunts me is about a man named Stephen who loved hiking. One summer, he went into the mountains alone, like he had done many times before. But this time, he didn't come back. A search team went looking for him and found his campsite. His backpack was there, his phone, his food, everything untouched. But he was gone. Then they found his camera. The last picture was strange. It showed Stephen, looking shocked, pointing the camera at something in the trees. But nothing could be seen, just dark woods. His face, though, it showed pure fear. His body was never found. Some say it was a wild animal. Others say he saw something out there, something not human. No one knows. But that picture, his eyes staring at something we can't see, that image still scares me. Now let me tell you about a phone call. In 2002, a teenage girl named Amy called 911. She said someone was trying to break into her house. She was home alone. The call was shaky. She was scared. The dispatcher kept her calm, told her to stay quiet, and said help was on the way. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then Amy whispered, "He's inside." The dispatcher heard footsteps, then a loud sound like the phone dropped. Police arrived a few minutes later. The house was empty. No signs of a break-in, no blood, no Amy. The door was locked from the inside. The only thing they found was the phone, still on the floor. The call was recorded, and when people listen to it now, they hear a second voice, low, deep, saying something no one can understand. Emmy was never found, and the last story, it's short, but it stays with you. In 1999, a little girl in a small town told her parents about her friend in the wall. They thought it was just imagination. She said he talked to her at night and told her secrets. But one day the girl screamed and pointed to a hole in the wall behind her bed. Her dad took a flashlight and looked inside. What he found was a narrow space and a small chair, a blanket, candy wrappers. Someone had been living inside the wall, watching her. For how long, no one knows. The police never found him, but the girl stopped sleeping in that room forever. These stories are not made up. They happened, and they remind us that the scariest things aren't ghosts or monsters. They're the real people, the ones who hide, who watch, who wait. So if you ever hear a noise when you're alone or feel like someone's behind you, maybe don't ignore it. Sometimes the fear is real. This is the story of true night shift horror stories. I am going to tell you what really happened to people working alone in the dark, when the world is sleeping and strange things come out. These are not just scary stories, they happened. And once you hear them, you might never feel safe working at night again, so listen closely and don't look behind you. This first story is about a man named Eric. He worked as a security guard at a large shopping mall. His shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 7 in the morning. Most nights were quiet, just walking around, checking doors, watching cameras. But one night, everything changed. Around 3 a.m., he noticed something strange on one of the security screens. A man was standing still in the middle of the food court. Just standing, not moving. No one should have been inside at that hour. The mall was locked. Eric rushed there, but when he arrived, the food court was empty. He thought maybe it was a camera glitch. But when he got back to the office, the man was now on a different camera, closer, standing just outside a closed toy store. Again, Eric ran, and again, nothing. This happened 3 more times. Each time, the man moved to a different spot, always closer to the security room. But every time Eric went to check, the place was empty. Finally, Eric locked the door to the security room and sat in front of the screens. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the screen went black for 2 seconds. When it came back on, there was no man. But on the desk, right in front of Eric, was a small note that said, "Stop following me." He quit the next day. Now let me tell you about Melissa. She worked night shifts at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. It was a lonely job, with only a few customers after midnight. One night, she saw an old man standing outside near Pump 4. He was just staring at the building. She waited for him to come in, but he never did. After 10 minutes, she stepped outside to check on him. But when she got there, no one was there. She looked around. Nothing. She went back inside. A few minutes later, the bell rang. Someone had come in, but the store was empty. No sound, no person. Just cold air. She checked the cameras. The old man was on the screen again, standing in aisle 2, looking straight at the camera. But when she ran to the aisle, it was empty. Back at the counter, the camera showed him walking toward the storage room. She followed. The door was open just a little. She pushed it. The lights were off. She whispered, "Hello?" but got no answer. Then suddenly, all the lights in the station shut off. In the dark, she heard breathing. Right next to her. She froze. Didn't move. After a few seconds, the lights flickered back on. The room was empty. But on the wall behind her, written in what looked like ash or dust, was, "I live here now. Melissa still works there, but she never goes into that room at night." There's also the story of Jamie, a nurse working the night shift at a small hospital. She was checking on a patient who had passed away just hours earlier. The body had been moved to the basement, where they kept them before pickup. Jamie went down to get some forms. The basement was cold, dark, and quiet. As she walked by the body room, she heard soft knocking from inside. Her heart stopped. She opened the door slowly. All the bodies were still, zipped in their bags, but one of the bags was moving. She thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the person wasn't dead. She called for help. Another nurse came down. Together, they unzipped the bag. The man inside was still and cold, definitely dead. But his eyes were open, and in his hand he was holding Jamie's name badge. She had lost it earlier that night. No one could explain it. There was no camera in the room, and no one had been down there but her. Jamie transferred to another hospital a week later. These are the kinds of things that happen when the world is asleep and you're the only one awake. Shadows move. Doors creak. People appear where they shouldn't be. And sometimes you don't go home the same. So if you ever work a night shift, don't ignore the small things. Sometimes the night is watching you too. This is the story of real encounters with evil. I am going to tell you about people who didn't just feel fear. They came face to face with something dark, something cold, something that didn't feel human at all. These are not stories of ghosts playing tricks or shadows in the corner. These are true stories of pure evil. So listen closely, and if the room feels a little colder while I speak, don't be surprised. The first story is about a man named Thomas. He was a quiet guy, lived in an old farmhouse far from town. One night, while he was sitting on his porch, he saw a girl walking alone down the dirt road. She looked lost, maybe 16, wearing a white dress. Thomas asked if she needed help, and she just looked at him and said, "Can I use your phone?" He nodded and she stepped onto the porch. But when he opened the door, something inside him screamed to stop. His whole body felt cold. He turned to her and said, "Wait here." She smiled, a smile too wide for her face. When he came back with the phone, she was gone. Not walking away, not hiding, just gone. Thomas didn't sleep that night. At sunrise, he checked the security camera by the porch. He played it back. There was no girl, but there was something else. A shadow moving behind him, just over his shoulder. A dark shape that didn't match anything around. The weirdest part? The recording stopped exactly when she smiled. His screen froze. Then the file deleted itself. He never saw the girl again. But every night after that, at exactly midnight, he heard knocking on the porch. Always 3 knocks, always slow, and when he opened the door, no one was there. Now listen to the story of Angela. She was a home nurse, working with an elderly woman named Mrs. Bell. The woman was sick and often confused, but one night she looked straight at Angela and said, "He's in the house." Angela asked who she meant. Mrs. Bell pointed to the ceiling and whispered, "He lives in the walls." Angela thought it was just the illness talking, but later that night, as she was cleaning up in the kitchen, she heard scratching sounds. Not rats, not pipes. It was like nails dragging across wood, and it moved, fast, from one side of the house to the other. Angela got scared. She called a friend to stay the night, but before the friend arrived, she went to check on Mrs. Bell. The door to her room was open. The bed was empty. On the wall above the bed, written in what looked like black ash, were the words, "She's mine now." They found Mrs. Bell in the basement, curled up in the corner, shaking. She kept saying the same thing over and over. "He's hungry." The house was sealed off after that. No one wanted to step inside again. There's another story. This one happened to a teenage boy named Daniel. He played with a Ouija board at a friend's house, just for fun. They laughed, asked silly questions, and nothing really happened. But that night, Daniel woke up to his closet door slowly creaking open. At first, he thought it was just air or maybe he hadn't shut it properly, but then he saw two eyes in the darkness. Red, not glowing, but watching. He froze. Couldn't move. Couldn't speak. The eyes stayed there until the sun came up. He tried to tell his parents, but they said it was just a dream. That night, it happened again. This time, he saw a figure crawling out from the closet. It moved in strange, jerky motions like a broken puppet. Daniel screamed. His parents ran in, turned on the light. But the figure was gone. Just the closet wide open. After that, Daniel started hearing whispers. Low voices saying his name. When he finally told his grandmother, she burned the Ouija board and placed salt around his room. The things stopped, but he still doesn't sleep with the closet door open. Not ever. The last story is short, but it stays with me. A woman named Claire worked at a daycare. One day, a little boy pointed to the corner of the room and said, "That man says he wants to take you." Claire laughed and asked, "What man?" The boy looked serious and whispered, "The one with no face." Later that day, when she was alone, she found a note in her purse. A note she didn't write. It said, "Soon." These are real encounters with evil. Not just things that go bump in the night, but things that follow you, watch you, and sometimes reach you. So the next time your gut tells you something is wrong, or the hair on your neck stands up, listen, because evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it stands right in front of you, smiling.